Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer, so now let's talk silver. A very interesting article came out 2 days ago titled, "Survey Says Silver Prices Decline in 2023, but Gold Gains Are Restrained." Now, does this mean that silver's finally taking on a life of its own, which I've been talking about for years now, since silver has a lot of opportunity, much greater than gold does, since silver's an industrial metal, and since mainly the reason I think silver is going to quote-unquote skyrocket is because of the industrial side of things, then it does make sense that silver could climb and gold kind of stays the same. Now, they're both great investments. Gold still has a lot of opportunity as well, but I just think silver has more opportunity. There's a reason why my name is Silver Slayer, not Gold Slayer. There's a reason why it's called Wall Street Silver, not Wall Street Gold. There's a reason for these things. There's a reason why there's such a big silver stacking community on YouTube and not gold. Silver has more opportunity. And are we finally starting to see that validation of this variable that we already knew was inevitably happening? Maybe. We're about to find out. Now, over the next couple of months, 4 or 5 months, I'm going to be approaching 100,000 subscribers, and as a token of my appreciation, I'm going to be giving away thousands of dollars worth of silver and gold. Imagine getting silver shipped straight to your front doorstep, and all you had to do to win that silver was click one button, which is subscribe. That's the reality over here, folks. You don't want to miss it. Click subscribe and may the luckiest stackers win. I also have something really cool to show you. One of my fans, one of you stackers, published a book titled 925 Thrift, The Pocket Guide to Finding Silver. Now, he sent me 3 copies. 2 are autographed, so I will actually be giving away some of these in my giveaway. Now, I'll also show the picture because this is really interesting, and I hope you guys check this out. This is written by R.E. Gold. Now, he also wrote me a letter, which is very kind. He said, "Hey, Silver Slayer, thank you for the invaluable content that you provide to our community. As you know, over the past year, I wrote a book called 925 Thrift, a guide to help the average person find silver at discounted prices before the masses catch on. 925 Thrift is a beginner's guide to providing clear step-by-step instructions on tracking down, identifying, and purchasing silver that's all around us, but still unnoticed by 99% of the people. 925 Thrift, the pocket guide to finding silver, provides a solid plan for anyone to create their own treasure map that can be worked week after week. 925 Thrift presents an alternative for collecting hard silver assets when faced with limited funds or working from a strict budget. Within 925 Thrift, I try to convey a positive message of hope and freedom. As you know, our community needs to start to prepare, and having some silver in your pocket will help weather coming soon. 925 Thrift is meant to be an easy read, a reference guide to help the newbie stacker catch the silver fever or the pro to diversify their holdings. And I definitely love this type of stuff. I'm always down to help other fellow stackers. And as you could see, this is on Amazon, ebook or paperback. Now, the coolest thing about this is I'm also trying to write my own silver stacking book. And I asked him, his book's going to be sold at Walmart, Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million. It's on Amazon. I said, hey, can you help me write my book and go through your publisher? And he said, yeah, sure. So he's going to help me write my own book as well. So this is the least I can do for him. Everyone go check that out, because this is something that is truly important. Another way to add to your stack, because this is slim pickings. But if you read this book, you could find out how to find constitutional silver, aka junk silver, in your everyday life without having to pay a single penny, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, shout out to R.E. Gold for sending me these copies, and I hope you guys go check out his book. Now let's get back to the article titled, "Survey Says Silver Prices Decline in 2023, Gold Gains Restrained." Now, I have been seeing a lot of articles that are bullish on silver and don't really mention gold. They're silver written articles. Gold is already soaring to start 2023, and while silver has some ground to make up, commodity market participants are bullish on the latter and reserved in their views of gold. That's the sentiment from a recent survey conducted by the LBMA, London Bullion Market Association. The firm's 2023 annual precious metals forecast survey also polled traders on their views regarding palladium and platinum. I think that's very interesting to see with the big 4 metals who's bullish on what. I think that's really interesting, and I'm glad that they look at this. So let's move on and see who's bullish on what. The trading range for silver is forecast to be around $20.30, which is just 10 cents more than what they had forecast in last year's survey, $20.20. The average forecast for this precious metal of $23.65 represents a 3.3% rise on the actual price in average, which was 2022, which would have been $21.73, but is 0.9% less compared to the actual average price in the first half of January 2023, which was $23.88. Another interesting point is that even though assets such as SPDR Gold Shares ETF, which is the GLD, are performing well to start 2023, market participants queried by the LBMA are tepid in their outlook for bullion this year. Analysts are not expecting the price of gold to move much higher this year compared to actual price in 2022, as well as in relation to the actual average price in the first half of January 2023. 43% of those surveyed believe the Federal Reserve's monetary policy will be the primary driver of the yellow metal's price this year, while a quarter says that either inflation or geopolitical events will chart gold's course. And that, I think, is the most important thing to remember, is gold's movement is mainly tied to just the Federal Reserve, the dollar index, what's happening monetarily, because gold is a monetary metal. So it's affected mainly around those things, which is still good since we know the dollar is collapsing and, we know where that's inevitably headed. But when we're talking about it in terms of potential, gold only has that going for it, where silver has a completely different side of things, which makes it bullish. So it's the best of both worlds. It has the advantages of why I just explained why gold's still a good investment, the inevitable collapse of the dollar, so silver's good there, but it also has even more potential to top on top of that because of its industrial uses. And, there's a lot here. I have so much information, folks. China reopening will drive another strong year for commodities. And then we have another big article. This is big news. Silver production in Peru down 7.6% in 2022. Now, that's huge because Mexico and Peru accumulate nearly half of all global silver production mined. Mexico and Peru, those two countries alone. The rest are Chile, Australia, China. But Mexico and Peru alone, those are the two biggest by far. So if Peru is down 7.6% in 2022, but we see record-breaking demands of 1.21 billion ounces, then 1 + 1 = 2, folks. We also have another article, and this is actually a video from Keith Neumeyer, which, by the way, would you want me to interview him on my channel? I have connections to get through him, obviously, from Andy Schechtman, which is the CEO of Miles Franklin, which, by the way, is the best place to buy silver and gold from. Highly recommend you purchase through them. Just send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let him know I sent you. Andy would love to hear it. But yeah, Andy's a top dog. Andy is very good friends with Keith Neumeyer, who's actually just with Keith Neumeyer a couple months ago, or a couple weeks ago even that. He could directly put me in contact with Keith. Also Ted Butler, the biggest names. He's the one that got me the David Morgan interview, and now me and David Morgan talk, not on a regular basis, but we chat here and there. See, buying from someone like that, compared to just some random site where you don't know who's filling your order behind the screen, that could be very beneficial, because if something happens to your order, you want something, you could just message Andy or ask, contact me and say, hey, can you let Andy know that, and I'll text him or call him, and he always does that. Anytime someone has a question or something about that, Andy's always willing to help. It's like your own friend you can buy from instead of just this random company, and that could be extremely beneficial, especially as these dealers are having a harder and harder time finding silver, especially given the fact that Miles Franklin is one of the only few authorized dealers that still purchases through the U.S. Mint. So, this is a very big opportunity for a lot of people. They can fill $50 million orders. Nobody else can fill an order that big, but Andy Schechtman can pull that off because he has the resources, and he knows the inside people, the biggest top dogs. And if you've ever seen him on my channel, we have a show we do together every week, but he's out of the country actually right now, so we're gonna start it back on Wednesday. But you know, he truly is the top guy if you want connections, and to buy through his company can offer you a lot of advantages that other companies just simply cannot offer. So that's why I am honored to be able to offer that same relationship to you guys. So anyways, yeah, I'm going to cover these articles in a different video, because if I didn't, this video would be 30 plus minutes long, because I'm going to put these two together, because China reopening will drive another strong year, talking about demand since China is the biggest consumer of silver. And then we also have production down. So if we have rising demand but diminishing supply, what does that mean? So I can't make an entire video. And then also rising demand, diminishing supply, which means a supply deficit. And then Keith Neumeier saying the silver deficit will move prices. That just goes hand in hand, right? China reopening drives silver up, but production is down. That's the supply deficit. And then Keith Neumeier comes out and says this supply deficit will move the prices. So you just see it playing it's all adding up, right? The stars are aligning. So anyways, yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Make sure you stay tuned for the next video, since I just gave you a little inside of what it's going to be. I usually don't do that, but, you know, why not? Figured guys would want to see something behind the scenes of what I do here on a daily basis all day long. and I do appreciate when you guys like the videos and leave comments and share it and subscribe, because I do put a lot of work, as you can see, into this stuff. You know, I'm sitting in my office all day long, researching, looking for articles. You know, there's a lot to this. Even just editing and making thumbnails and all that is a lot as well. And I try to do that because I want you guys to have the daily scoop, right? The inside scoop on a daily basis. I never want you guys to miss a beat, and you won't if you're subscribed. Plus, you have opportunities to win a boatload of silver and gold. So that's just a little perk on the side as well. So anyways, yeah, thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I will see you guys soon. Peace.